Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast. Our podcast is new. Our podcast is bold, and truth is our guiding principle. But political correctness is out the door. We will tell it like it is. My name is Ray Tampa, and I'm the host of the Ray Tampa podcast. We have in the studio with us today my two co-hosts, two very talented and intellectual gentlemen, Mr. Russell Cato and Mr. Jamie Wilson III. Today, I'm going to read an article that I wrote, and my co-hosts and I are going to engage in a very lively discussion about the article. The article is going to focus on the issues of accountability and transparency for nonprofits or nonprofit boards, specifically the Pinellas County Urban Leagues Board. Here's the article, the title, Who is Pinellas County Urban Leagues Board Chair Rodney Wilson? Inquiring minds want to know that and more. The article. The Pinellas County Urban League has a credible reputation for providing resources to needy residents in St. Petersburg and other areas of Pinellas County and beyond. Their mission is to create social inclusion, educational competitiveness, and economic prosperity in the African American populations of Pinellas County and the following counties of Pasco, Hernando, Lake, Seminole, Marion, and Sumter. The organization receives millions of dollars in grants and donations from local, state, and federal agencies, as well as private corporations and individuals in the name of helping needy residents in the noted service areas. Believe it or not, lots of people don't really know the services provided by the Pinellas County Urban League. Heck, I remember being told by a person who would definitely know this information that some board members don't know what the Urban League does. For these reasons and others, we need to seek accountability for what's happening at the Urban League, particularly since the passing of Reverend Watson Haynes II. We believe firmly that the Urban League owes our community a certain degree of transparency, especially as it relates to its operations and the people in charge of its operations and administration. Two, there should be some degree of transparency about income and expenditures. In essence, the Pinellas County Urban League is an important community resource that should be forthcoming about its transparency obligations to the community and its benefactors. Inquiring minds have a slew of questions that, if answered, can go a long way toward restoring the preeminence of the organization. A listing of those questions is as follows. Number one, who is Board Chair Rodney Wilson, and what is his background? Number two, was the board chair and other board members aware of Reverend Haynes' illness prior to his passing? If so, did they consider leadership succession measures in anticipation of need? Number three, how did the board conclude that Charlotte Anderson was the right person to serve as interim CEO? Was there board discussion, or was it Rodney Wilson's decision alone. Number 4, why did it take 21 days following Reverend Haynes's passing for employees and the community to learn who would serve as interim? Number 5, was Rodney Wilson and or other board members aware of other names that could have been chosen initially to serve as interim? Number 6, why was Charlotte Anderson allowed to remain in her role as interim CEO while an independent investigation about her was occurring? Number 7, why was Charlotte Anderson allowed to remain as CEO for about 7 months? 7 months, considering the seriousness of the allegations against her. Number 8, why was it necessary to extend the deadline for applicants to apply for the CEO's position? Number 9, supposedly, Charlotte Anderson was a finalist. Charlotte Anderson was a finalist for the CEO's position. This suggests to our community that the quality of applicants was lacking, or something else was going on with that decision. Rodney Wilson, please explain. Number 10, why have you, Rodney Wilson, refused to release or communicate the findings of the Charlotte Anderson investigation? Were there financial misgivings or management bullying concerns, or simply a matter of incompetence? Number 11, how was the decision made for Malcolm Flakes to serve as interim CEO following Charlotte Anderson's departure? At the time of Malcolm Flakes' appointment, employees were told that he would be in the role for 2 weeks or until June 1st, first of the month, June 1st. Why is Malcolm still serving as interim more than 5 weeks later, as of this date, June 23rd? Can employees and the community trust anything this board says or does? Number 14, Rodney Wilson, is it possible for the employees and the community to receive a concrete timeline for a decision to be made for president/CEO? Getting answers to these questions, as stated earlier, would go a long way toward restoring respect and confidence in the Pinellas County Urban League. 2, the fact that these questions are being asked should cause the Urban League's board members to take their responsibilities more seriously. Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to ask my co-host to let's tackle the subject of accountability and transparency for nonprofit boards in our community, but more specifically, the Pinellas County Urban Leagues Board. Anybody want to go first here?
Well, I feel like these questions, these 14 questions, these are questions that the board should be asking, because they really, it seems like the board's not involved in a lot of decisions, or not involved in a lot of these decisions, or oblivious to what's going on, or just, I mean, for this, first of all, this lady that we mentioned,
Charlotte,
Charlotte Anderson. If she was, in that position.
well, I agree with you there, Jay. I don't know if the issues were legal at that point, even though it was an attorney who was doing the investigation.
Mhm.
An attorney that had been hired by the board to investigate some allegations.
Okay.
But what the findings were as a result of that investigation, I think the community should have some idea as to what was going on.
Mhm.
We're talking about the interim CEO president of one of Pinellas County's leading nonprofit organizations receiving millions of dollars
Yeah.
from state, federal, local government entities, as well as stated, private corporations and individuals. All stakeholders should be provided information of this nature.
Right. And information should be out to the public because you represent the public. You're getting money to represent the public and as I say, with the needy population to help out. You're getting money for this. It should be some transparencies. It should be, everyone should know whatever vehicle you want to use to get your information out of what you're doing, what you're voting on. The public needs to know. It's not yours, it's ours, it's the community's.
Well, Russ,
I have to piggyback off what Jamie said, but I want to kind of throw something in. Mr. John Hopkins, everybody knows him, I think.
correct.
And I remember that he was one of the pioneers to establish this urban league in Pinellas County back in 1977. I remember John Hopkins, he worked hard at it. In fact, he was president of POC too.
Pinellas Opportunity Council.
Exactly. He saw that kind of vision. That's what I just want to bring his name in. But Ray, you are so right. I like to use a synonym here that, and I'm gonna call it TECT, which means trust, accountability, and transparency. That's what I don't see here, Ray. We're not trying to down, please. I want people and listening to understand this. We are not trying to down the urban league. Please,
No,
people,
correct.
listen, yeah.
In no way, fashion, or form.
No way, fashion, or form. I believe Watson Haynes was a good leader.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes.
But as you say now, somebody got to take it over. And we definitely, as you said, Ray, we need some transparency, some accountability. The community got to know. Look at how much money is coming to this organization.
Well, I'm gonna share something with the two of you. November 8th, I sent a text message to several board members. November 8th. And in that text message, I suggested to the board members in order to preserve the legacy of Watson Haynes, they should expeditiously
Yes,
find a qualified replacement,
yes.
expeditiously. And their failure to do so would be, in my mind, a very extreme dereliction of duty. Because as board members, they do have a duty to do just that.
Right.
Yeah,
Find a qualified replacement for Watson. And I also said in that particular text message that their failure to do this could possibly tarnish their professional reputation
yes.
and their professionalism. Because as board members, they have legal obligations, and to fail to follow through on their legal obligations exposes them to possible liabilities.
Right.
But they made the mistake, in my mind, they made a mistake in first giving that interim job to Charlotte. They made the mistake in allowing her to stay in that role, in my mind, for so long. And then, I'm not sure of this, but I was told by a very credible source that Charlotte was a finalist for the permanent. Position.
It's hard to believe, because I don't know this lady, but I've heard not so good things about her in the sense of, the people that are close to the urban league and involved, things like bullying and stuff like that. So I haven't heard a lot of good things. So I find it hard to believe that she was a finalist at all. But on a more serious note, our governor is making cuts. And he's not a fan of the urban league or anything close to that's going to help our people, our communities. And he's made cuts. I think it was a what, 1.5 billion cut.
What did you say? What number?
I think it was 1.5 million with an M.
Yeah.
Million. So they're kind of making it easy. If this was to be questioned coming down from this jerk of a governor, they need to have their books right. They need to have everything right. And any internal issues needs to be solved, because there are a lot of opportunities like this for our community are on the chopping block. So I could see this being next, or something like this being next.
Yeah, that was quite a bit of money to deny the urban league.
Mhm.
But you know, it's just unfortunate that we have, as you stated a jerk as the governor.
Yeah, he is a jerk.
As the
Yeah.
governor.
Mhm.
But maybe this jerk of a governor took notice that maybe the urban league needed to have that money slashed.
Mhm.
I will never agree with that unless the governor can show me some reasons that he did that. But nevertheless, it was done. It was done. But if they had gotten that money,
Mhm.
then the urban league would have a responsibility and obligation to be transparent
Right,
with what they're gonna do with that money.
right,
How they're gonna utilize those funds,
right.
as well as the funds that they do have.
Truly. I think the thing that bothers me, and go back to what you said, is why did it take 21 days? That's the thing that bothers me. You see what Jamie,
Mhm.
21 days trying to find a person to replace Watson. That's a long time.
It is a long time, but even more so disturbing, Russ and Jamie, is the fact that the way they handled it, the process of identifying the replacement was horrible,
Mhm.
because they never went to the employees
Yeah.
and spoke to the employees about who the replacement would be. That announcement was made at Watson's funeral.
Oh, that's tacky.
That was tacky.
Tacky, yeah.
That was not the appropriate place to announce his replacement.
Wow, yeah,
Okay.
right. That's
Gotta be kidding.
Right. And the board members should be, because the board members are an extension. So they could update people, they need to know what's going on. It doesn't sound like they know what's going on. What are the policy and procedures? Even for voting in a new CEO, what's the part? What are they following? Are these backroom deals, or what's going on?
Good points, because every organization should have bylaws.
Right.
Policies, procedures,
Mhm.
bylaws. And as I suggested, did they have a succession plan
Mhm.
for replace? No, they couldn't have.
Right.
They couldn't have, because they have made a second mistake in this CEO position. Because by giving that position to Malcolm, I can't be certain about this, but I think I'm right. Malcolm did not qualify as a finalist for the job, but now he has the job,
Mhm.
even though it's interim, because Malcolm's experience has been in manufacturing, engineering with Honeywell,
Mhm.
not nonprofit. And the application process stated the requirements for applicants. And it clearly stated that applicants should have 4 or 5 years of senior leadership management experience with nonprofits.
Right.
With nonprofits. And to make matters worse, they have qualified people in that applicant pool. They have highly qualified people in the applicant
That's the
pool.
problem. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
And this too. For transparency's sake, nobody seems to know anything. The employees don't know what's going on. The applicants that applied for the job don't know what's going on. Some board members don't know what's going on. Members in the community don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
a lot of people don't know what they actually do. And these questions, these are from people. These are from people in the community,
Yes.
these
Yes.
questions.
Yes. But think about it, go ahead, Russ.
No, I want to say what Jane was saying. These are questions come from the people in the community. But you know, Ray, I really do believe they have bylaws for this in this organization. I really do.
They have to have.
They got to have bylaws. But what you have here is more of a subjective approach
Mhm.
to selecting people
They're doing what they want to
to
do.
do what they want to
They're
do.
doing what they want to do. Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you why I say to you too, that you're right, because
Backroom deal.
Malcolm is in the position because of a frat brother. As I was told, a frat brother helped him with that situation. And what about the people that spent their time filling out the application, submitting their applications per the process? And they've been waiting for months to know what's happening. And they find out that a person who was not a finalist is in that role, CEO. You know, because cronyism
Yes,
corrupts
yes,
the process.
That's right.
yes.
Right.
Cronyism pollutes the trust
Mhm.
or dilutes the trust that the community might have for the organization. Because again, I know firsthand of some very talented people that applied for that job. Some very talented people who meet all the qualifications listed for that job and exceed those qualifications. But they have to sit back and continue to wait on a decision while they give another applicant
Mhm.
who did not meet the qualifications in full the opportunity to groom himself for the job.
Right.
That's not good.
Transparency.
That's not good.
Transparency. It needs to be a lot more of that with this organization. And again, we're not trying to beat up on you guys at the Urban League, but you need to be more transparent. The community needs to know what you do, what is available to them. You need to get it out there. You need to get it out there, as well as your internal issues. You need to fix them. If we know it, other people know it.
And you're right.
The higher up's gonna know it. And I'm talking about the governor and all that. He's a crazy man. So y'all need to fix the problem. That's why we're talking about it. Fix the problem.
Yes, yes.
Fix the problem.
And this podcast, this discussion is not centered on the quality of employee at the Urban League.
Right.
No,
The employees, they're doing the best they can with the information they have.
Right.
They're doing their job to the best of their knowledge. But the board, that's where this concern is.
Right.
The board needs to understand, they have fiduciary responsibilities
Correct.
and obligations.
Correct.
These are legal obligations and
Mhm.
responsibilities. And they need to know that it's a responsibility to be informed of what's going on at the organization,
Mhm.
yes,
to be knowledgeable, to attend board meetings. When you got board members who don't know who the applicants are, or in terms of the 3 finalists are. This has been going on a long time, the process, and they don't know who the finalists are. That's a problem.
Right.
That's a problem.
They could put that in the weekly challenger and having little pamphlets about what you do at your location. That's not helping. You need to extend your reach for the people where upcoming elections or whatever, for board members and CEOs, all of that. Get it out there because you're doing it for the community. You don't own it. It's not yours by yourself. So being quiet about it and just making decisions without going through the proper channel is wrong.
Yeah,
So get the information out to the people. You represent the people. You're there for the people. You're getting that money that you're getting to help the people.
and you're so right about that, Chairman, but my whole concern, when I go through these questions. Being asked. Yeah, when I look at the names that we have here, Anderson, the Wilson, the Flake, are these the best people? I'm not saying they're not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, Jim? I'm not saying they're
Right.
not, but there got to be others.
Right.
Must be considered.
Well, this is the point I'm making in terms of what you just said, Russ. They put an application process out that they were looking for a president and CEO.
Okay,
They identified the qualifications they were looking for in the process. They gave the people a deadline to apply.
Mhm.
The people applied. Listen to this. When the deadline came, they found out that they had too few applicants, or a lot fewer than they were anticipating.
Mhm.
So they, as I am told, that's why I said here, Rodney explained, why did you all do that?
Mhm.
But I'm told that they put the application deadline out again or extended it because of the fact that they did have too few applicants. Who's in charge of advertising the job? Guess
Right.
who? Guess who?
Hmm.
Charlotte Anderson, I was told.
Oh, boy.
Charlotte Anderson.
it makes sense.
They didn't put much effort into advertising it or getting it out there. I mean, you have the weekly challenger as a vehicle or a route to get stuff out like.
Well, they may have done the weekly, I don't know, but whatever means they use, the board was not satisfied with that because they expected a lot more applicants than they received. And if you put 2 and 2 together, you come up with 4. You put 3 and 1 together, you come up with 4. You put 0 and 4 together, you got 4. No matter how you do it, Charlotte Anderson was in charge and it failed.
Right.
It failed. And I was told that Charlotte and the marketing person for the Urban League at that time, they were bickering between the 2 of them because they were trying to lay blame on each other.
Mhm.
And, yeah,
But if you have viable people, as you said, there were viable people that could take the position. What was the reason for the extension?
well, they wanted more. They wanted more. But I want to say to you, this transparency conversation we had in our last podcast, as well as accountability. And we have individuals, we have organizations that need to be held accountable.
Right.
And that's what we're doing.
Right. That's
They
all it
need
is.
to be held accountable. The questions that I read for this show, I read to some very talented intellectuals in our community. And they said to me, each and every one of them, those are very legitimate questions.
Correct. Correct.
Very legitimate questions that should have answers. So with that being said, I want to say to the 2 of you, once again, I've enjoyed our conversation, our discussion about the Pinellas County Urban League's board. And it's my hope that the board members will take heed
Right.
of this particular discussion and do a much better job today to join us each and every Tuesday at 5:30. 5:30 on 99.1 FM, The Bird, and witness the talents of the Ray Tampa podcast show hosts. And I also want to remind our listeners that sponsorships are welcome.
Always.
Sponsorships are welcome. And finally, go to YouTube, type in the Ray Tampa podcast and view all of our podcasts right there on YouTube. So with that being said, good evening.